Hello, I am Amy Moffatt, and I am here today to give you an overview of the current issues and controversies that have recently been raised as a result of foreign outsourcing of jobs by United States companies and the effects that outsourcing has had on both the United States and global economies. The idea and practice of outsourcing is not exactly new in our country. In fact, this subject has been one of extreme political and economic debate since its origination in the 1970s. Outsourcing, or offshoring as it is most commonly referred to, has been scrutinized and blamed for the rising unemployment rate and for current economic conditions here in the United States. One of the serious issues of outsourcing U.S. jobs to foreign countries is that it leaves so many U.S. workers wondering what the future will hold for them. This undermines consumer confidence and in turn weakens the overall strength and stability of the economy. Many American citizens blame the 1994 signing of the North American Free Trade Agreement, otherwise known as NAFTA, which made free trade possible between the U.S., Canada, and Mexico by eliminating a variety of fees and restrictions on goods and services as the cause for the current depressed economic conditions. NAFTA's original intention, however, was to promote free trade among these countries along with the World Trade Organization. However, despite these good intentions, many unemployed American workers are now left wondering where their jobs have gone. With the current state of the United States economy, American employees are experiencing record numbers of layoffs, employer buyouts, early retirement packages, little or no health coverage, and even the loss of their pensions. In the meantime, these same companies are continuing to keep their offshore locations running. This practice itself has caused many consumers to contemplate on whether or not outsourcing is or is not the largest contributing factor to the depressed United States economy. Since this presentation discusses the controversial advantages and disadvantages of foreign outsourcing, we will use a bar chart to visualize perceived savings of foreign outsourcing. This chart addresses the actual and estimated savings by information technology corporations using outsourced labor. One of the biggest claims that businesses make when outsourcing jobs is that it is cheaper. This is not always the case. These findings are based on the results of a 2006 study by the nonprofit organization New Jobs for New York, conducted by Professor Howard Rubin. The study involved 10 New York-based IT companies. This chart was compiled with the data from Professor Rubin's findings. Remember, there are always two sides to each story. This is especially true when it comes to domestic and global commerce. While several companies make claims of savings as the main reason for their outsourcing, many of these same claims have proven to be exaggerated. Professor Howard Rubin of New Jobs for New York commissioned a study in 2006 that explored facts on outsourcing. This chart emphasizes the results of Professor Rubin's study, which showed that although companies were claiming and estimating an average savings of 44% per outsourced job, Professor Rubin demonstrates that the actual figure is approximately 20%. In light of this information, it appears companies actually save more by keeping jobs here in the U.S. Despite Professor Rubin's study, many of these same companies have continued to keep their offshore locations going. This practice has caused many analysts to contemplate on whether or not outsourcing is or is not the contributing factor to the struggling United States economy. If this proves to be true, and outsourcing is to blame for our economic woes, then who is the real winner in the outsourcing frenzy? As Reed Dunbar discussed, the more outsourcing grows and further emerges as commonplace, we could see the offshore attraction to employers begin to push the wages here in America down in order to increase profitability. If Reed Dunbar is correct, the worldwide market itself may also become the root of several future global economic problems. Outsourcing could actually widen the space between the upper middle class and the lower middle class even further than it is now. Outsourcing could possibly increase the numbers of the working poor as wages are reduced, which is not where the American people want to be headed. In closing, there have been a string of bills proposed at the federal level to regulate and limit outsourcing. Some of these bills have required companies to disclose their activities concerning outsourcing, increase their privacy policies to include the foreign workers, and prohibit contracts from being outsourced if they're funded through a government agency. These studies and legislation are examples of a shift of opinion regarding outsourcing practices. However, we must implement a system which educates and enriches our current and future workforce, as well as our economic and political leaders. By continuing to train and educate a highly skilled workforce, the United States will become the country that the world looks to when outsourcing.
What types of jobs are typically outsourced to other countries? Where are they outsourced to, and why?
Well, the most common types of jobs that are outsourced to other countries are manufacturing. The automotive industry has erected many facilities in South America and Mexico due to the attractiveness of lower wages and tax incentives. The customer service and information technology industries are also major contributors in the outsourcing trend. Many of the call centers that handle customer service, for instance, ordering appointments, IT troubleshooting, etc., are actually being handled from across the globe. India has been and continues to be one of the more desirable locations to outsource IT and customer service functions. This is mainly due to the fact that many employees have completed higher education. Still, wages are less and most employees speak English.
If outsourcing to foreign countries saves corporations money, what is the benefit of using and keeping American workers?
As demonstrated in my presentation, outsourcing does not always equal a cost savings. Many companies still value quality over quantity as well. The American workforce has potential to rule the outsourcing trend. In fact, Wadhwa states a recent Duke University study concluded that U.S. workers have advantages in their communication skills, understanding the market, education, training, creativity, and willingness to challenge the status quo. American workers are more productive and deliver work of equal or higher quality than foreign workers.
In light of the current economic hardships, how can the U.S. workforce sustain itself?
The answer is simple: education and training. Americans need to understand the global market, educate the workforce, and produce superior products. One of the biggest hurdles in America is that America has become too comfortable as a manufacturing supplier. By broadening our workforce into research and development ventures, through education and training, it will allow us to take our place amongst the leaders in the outsourcing trend.